welcome to tonight's yoga class. We'll be starting on your back, so taking your time to make your way all the way down onto your back, knees bent and feet flat on the ground. And once you're there, take a moment to settle in, closing your eyes, and just observing your body from your feet all the way to the top of your head. Noticing if there's any sensations, noticing if you're holding tension anywhere, and just starting by observing the body. And once that feels complete for you, start to notice your breath. So noticing if you're breathing big breaths or little breaths. Are you breathing into your chest or your low belly? And then gently start to bring your awareness to your lower belly, ribs, and back. And as you inhale, can you feel that area of your body expand? And as you exhale, feeling it soften. Perhaps putting your hands on your low belly or low ribs for feet back. So actually feeling it all expand with your inhale. And soften with your exhale, noticing the spine is nice and long in your position here. So one more full cycle before we start to bring movement into your body. Good. So then when that's complete, inhale, lift your feet off the ground, drawing your knees into your hands. With your inhale, draw your knees towards your chest, and exhale, wrap your knees out and around. And just continue there at your own pace, noticing the range of motion that you have in your hips in this movement. Going through one more cycle all the way. And then from here, lengthening both your legs out on the floor. Nice long spine, low belly active. Inhale and draw your leg up towards the sky, and exhale nice and slow and controlled down. And continuing there, alternating one side and the other, inhaling up and exhaling to lower. Continuing each side at your own pace, noticing if your low back starts to lift, keeping those low belly muscles nice and active. Good, one more on each side. And then bending both your knees, so feet are flat on the ground, knees and feet are hip width distance apart. Roll your shoulders back and down so you feel the pressure on the shoulders, not the neck. And with your inhale, press through your heels, squeeze your glutes, and lift yourself up into a bridge pose. And exhale to lower. So just going at your own pace, lifting and lowering, or maybe you choose to just hold your bridge. Whatever you choose, continuing to look up towards the sky to keep the neck neutral in this position. Good, and one more. And then lengthening the legs back out in front of you. Draw the shoulders back and down, spine is still long. Inhale to lift, and then one leg up, and then exhale and start to lower the leg out to the side as far as you can without rotating and lifting through the other side. And then inhale up, exhale, leg back down, and switching over to the other side. Inhale up, exhale, gently lower the leg out to the side. Inhaling up, and exhale down. Continue at your own pace. If you find that you're really twisting, it's hard to keep the hips stable, you can always place your hands out to the side, or you can bend the knee that's lowering out to the side to give you a little bit more stability. So again, whatever variation you choose, noticing how far that leg can go out without rotating through the hips and the lower back. One more on each side. Good, inhaling up, exhale down. Hug your knees to your chest And then whatever way you choose, maybe rolling over to one side, or maybe rocking forward and back, giving yourself a little massage, eventually to come all the way up and over onto your hands and knees. Knees under your hips, hands under your shoulders, spread your fingertips wide. And with your inhale, extend opposite arm and leg, bird dog. Exhale, elbow towards your opposite knee. Inhale, extend back out. And exhale, hands and knee back down to the floor. Switching over to the other side. So again, inhale to lift. Exhale, elbow towards opposite knee. Inhale to reach. And exhale down. Continue there at your own pace, noticing, can you keep the back nice and long, low belly active, and the hand that's on the ground is nice and still active, pressing the fingertips into the floor, drawing the shoulders away from the ears, and breathing as you move. Good, and then coming all the way back down to your tabletop position. Stepping your right leg out to the side, and then tucking your left toes, and then exhaling hips towards your back heel, and then inhale forward. That right leg that's straight, if you find it's too intense in the knee or the inner thigh, you can always soften the knee. But whatever variation, you're keeping the spine long, and hands are still nice and active here to protect our wrists. So fingertips are pressing into the floor, and we're almost like we're creating an arch in our palms. So lifting through that inner arch of our palm. Good, and then exhale, bring your right knee back to center and switch over to the other side. So right toes are tucked, left leg nice and straight, and exhale, hips towards your heel. Inhale forward, and just continuing, maybe noticing if one side feels any tighter than the other. Good, and last one here. Making your way back into your tabletop position, tucking your toes and then sending your hips up and back, downward dog. Bend your knees a little further here and send your hips up a little higher. Shoulders away from the ears and fingertips still spreading wide, grounding us into the floor. So from here, inhale forward to plank. Exhale, gently tuck your elbows and lower yourself all the way down. You can always come to your knees first if you choose. Reach your hands up overhead, low belly's active. Keeping the length in your spine, inhale and extend opposite arm and leg off the floor. Exhale, come down and switching over to the other side. And one more on each side. Shoulders are still away from the ears. Low belly is active. Good, and then from here, inhaling, drawing your hands underneath your shoulders, and then just pressing yourself up onto your knees, coming into a kneeling position. If you want to open up through the plantar fascia of your feet, you can always tuck your toes here, or you can keep your toes untucked. And inhale, right fingertips to the sky, thumb facing back, and exhale to rotate all the way back. And just going here at your own pace. Nice and controlled. Last one on this side. And then gently switching over to the other side. Inhale, thumbs facing back. Exhale at the top where your palm rotates out, and then all the way around. So going through that articular surface of our shoulder joint. So good for our shoulders. Good. And then all the way down. And then come back to your tabletop position. So knees under the hips, hands under the shoulders. Reset those fingers, tuck your toes, and send your hips up and back. Good. From here, inhale and extend your right leg back behind you. Exhale, step your right foot between your hands. Lower your left knee, and inhale, draw fingertips towards the sky. Shoulders away from the ears, and feel how as you press your thumbs back, you can feel opening through your shoulders. But keeping those ribs down so we're not arching through our back. We're keeping a nice active core. Still breathing 360 degrees through your lower ribs. With your exhale, fold forward, placing both hands on the inside of that right foot and then start to draw. You might have to rotate your toes out and draw that knee as far past the toes as what's comfortable for your knees and your toes and your hips. Good, one more breath here, lengthening through your spine, and then keeping your back toes tucked, come back into your downward dog. And same thing on the other side. Inhale, left heel back behind you. Exhale, left foot between your hands, lowering your right knee, and inhale, fingertips to the sky, shoulders away from the ears. And breathing all the way through your lower ribs. Feeling that length through the whole front body. One more inhale to reach up, and exhale, point your toes out to the side, fold forward, and then bring that knee as far past the toes as what's comfortable for you. Keeping the hands under your shoulders and length through your spine. Holding for one more breath. And then whenever that's complete for you, move your foot back underneath your knee and step your back foot forward, coming into your forward fold. In this position, bend your knees as much as you need to find a little bit of length through your neck, as long as it's comfortable for your lower back. With your inhale, halfway lift to a nice neutral spine. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, rolling all the way up to Tadasana, fingertips towards the sky. And exhale, hands on back to your sides. And with your inhale, reach your hands up overhead, and then exhale, coming into a chair pose. So send your hips back, chest lifted. Going as far as you feel comfortable without rounding through your back, and keeping those shoulders drawing down and away. So holding here for a couple breaths. And then with your inhale, come back to standing, hands to your sides. And then next one, standing a little bit more shoulder width distance apart. Sending your weight in your heels, hips back, coming into your deep squat if it's available. You can always sit down on the floor and do more of like a cobbler's pose if you prefer. So keeping that chest lifted, right fingertips on the floor, and then inhale and reach your left hand back, thumb facing behind you. Good, and exhale, come back down and switch over to the other side. Gently keeping that chest lifted. Inhale, reach the right thumb back. Or the other side. Good, and exhale, coming back down. And we'll do one more on each side. Again, inhaling to lift. You can either look at your hand as you twist, or just keeping your gaze in front, whatever is most comfortable. And then last one. And exhale, floating your hand back down, coming back onto your hands and knees, tucking your toes and coming back into your downward dog. Sending hips to the sky. And then with your next exhale, shift forward to plank. Find a nice long spine. Either coming to your knees first or just coming all the way to your belly, nice and slow and controlled, elbows tucked. Pointing your toes, drawing your feet together, low belly active, and then inhale and gently peel your chest off the floor, baby cobra. Focusing on length rather than height. Exhale to float back down. And one more, low belly's nice and active. Inhale to lift. Good, and exhale, floating back down. Tucking your toes and coming back up into your downward facing dog. And with your next inhale, extend your right heel back behind you. Exhale, right foot between your hands, lowering your left foot flat to come up into your warrior two position. So head over heart, heart over hip, so we keep that length in your spine. And take note what that front knee is doing. So you really want to actively press the knee out. Take advantage of that opening we've created through the inner thigh and outer hip. Holding here for a couple of breaths, noticing if you can still stay present with the breath, expanding all the way through your lower ribs, belly and back. Good, and then we'll go into extended side angle, so keeping the legs where you are, dropping your front elbow to your front knee, and then reaching your back fingertips to the front of the room. So there's that straight line from your back foot to those fingertips. Take note what your shoulder's doing on that right side. Can you draw your shoulders down and away, creating that space in the shoulder and the neck? Really good. One more breath here, reaching fingertips up, and then exhaling to windmill your hands all the way down on the inside of the right foot. So we're coming back into that lizard position. So you might have to turn your right toes out slightly and then place both hands on the inside of the foot, and then maybe drop. You can either keep your back leg lifted or drop your back knee if you want to keep it a little bit more gentle. Good, and then keeping your back toes tucked, step back into your downward dog, finding that length through your spine. And when you're ready, same thing on the other side. Inhale, left heel back behind you. Exhale, right foot or left foot between your hands and right foot flat on the ground. Coming up into your warrior two on the other side. Finding that sense of grounding through your feet and lifting of your spine through the top of your head. Take a notice again on that front knee. Can you press it out a little further? Feeling those outer hip muscles nice and active here. So it's almost like an isometric contraction where we're strengthening that muscle without even moving. Maybe even reaching palms to the sky, opening up your shoulders. Really good. One more big breath. And then with your next exhale, extended side angle where your back foot is still on the ground, front fingertips reaching for the front angle of the room, and then that elbow on the knee, above the knee, and then pressing the elbow into the leg so that we create space. Not collapsing through the shoulder, we're creating strength in the shoulder. There's always the option too with this one to just not actually rest the elbow, but to just place the hand on the lower leg. It actually does create a little bit more strength through the torso that way. Good, one more inhale to reach a little further, and then exhale, windmill your hands down on the inside of your left foot. Again, left toes might be pointing out slightly at maybe a 45-degree angle, whatever is comfortable in that hip. Feeling that knee maybe coming past the toes even, so we get a nice opening through the hip. Good, and then with your next exhale, gently step your left foot back into your downward dog. You can either stay in down dog for a few breaths or run through another vinyasa, inhaling forward to plank, exhaling to gently lower down, and then choosing whatever variation of cobra or locust you choose. So if you're doing baby cobra, maybe you're just peeling your chest off the ground again. And exhaling down. And just moving at your own pace. Maybe you do a second one. And then whenever you're ready, moving back up into your downward facing dog. Good. So with your inhale, extend your right heel back behind you. Exhale, step your right foot between your hands. Come up into your high lunge pose, fingertips reaching up towards the sky. A slight tuck of the tailbone here so we keep that length in our spine, ribs down. And if you want to challenge yourself a little bit more with this one, maybe you bend into the front knee a little bit, or maybe you keep it gentle and maybe straighten the leg a bit more, whatever feels good. Good, one more inhale to reach up, and then exhale, point your right toes out at that same angle that we just had, bending down and coming back into that lizard variation. So both hands in the front or beside that right foot, and back leg is nice and lifted and active. So feel your left leg nice and active. You can always lower your back knee though if you prefer. Draw your shoulders away from your ears, and then inhale and extend your right fingertips forward. So we're almost like we're doing your bird dog position of opposite arm and leg extended. Good, one more inhale to reach up, and then exhale, float your right hand down, and gently step your right foot back into your downward dog. Take a few breaths here, feeling your fingertips grounding you into the floor, feeling your hips drawing towards the sky. And when you're ready, we'll do the same thing on the other side. So inhale, left heel back behind you. Exhale, left foot between your hands. Lengthen your spine, and then lifting all the way up into your high lunge. Fingertips reaching for the sky, thumbs pressing back. And again, bending into that front knee as much as you need to. Hips are still square here. And also just watching that front knee, that it's not falling in. So that nice, stable, solid position there. A couple more breaths, focusing on that expanding all the way around. And then with your next inhale, fingertips to the sky. Exhale, rotate the toes out of the left foot, placing both hands on the inside of the left foot, drawing that knee maybe past the toes if that's comfortable. Always the option to lower that right leg or keep it lifted for a bit more strength. Keeping that right hand right under the shoulders, fingers spread wide to protect the wrist. Left hand reaches forward towards the front of the room. And if you like, you can always keep the hand down if it feels too much in the shoulder, but just noticing the mobility and strength that we create in this position. One more inhale to reach, and exhale, float your hand back down. This time, step your back foot forward, coming into a forward fold. Bend your knees, take a couple breaths here, feel your toes spreading wide, grounding yourself into the floor. And with your next inhale, halfway lift, chest reaching to the front of the room. Exhale, fold forward. And inhale, rolling all the way to the standing, fingertips to the sky. And exhale, floating your hands back down. Take a moment, grounding yourself to the floor. So again, spreading your toes wide. Feel how that contact with the floor can help ground us and stabilize us. And then from here, shift your weight over to your right leg. Inhale your left knee up and out. And then place that foot anywhere along the thigh, wherever it lands, except for avoiding going directly over top of the knee joint. So you can even do like a kickstand version, so the toes supporting you, calf or upper thigh. But whatever variation you do, see if you can, keeping the hips square, press the knee out. So we've built mobility and strength through that outer hip today, so feeling that mobility that we've created. You can either keep your hands at your hips or maybe reaching fingertips to the sky, thumbs pressing back, shoulders melting away from the ears, and connecting back to the breath to help stabilize us and support us in our tree pose. You can always use your eyes to help stabilize you by finding one point in space, just looking at that one point. Good, one more inhale, and exhale, floating hands and leg back down. Give those legs a little shake. And then switching over, again, spreading the toes of your left foot, stabilizing you and strengthening those inner arch intrinsic muscles of our feet. And then inhale, the knee up. Exhale to rotate out, and then placing that foot anywhere along the leg, again avoiding the knee joint. Notice, is the low belly nice and active? Can you still continue to breathe and expand all the way through your lower ribs, belly and back? And then maybe keeping your hands at your hips or reaching fingertips to the sky, thumbs pressing back. Connecting back to your breath. And notice too what the standing leg is doing. So although the standing leg is straight, it's very active. So it's almost like you were trying to draw that kneecap up the thigh, so you can feel those quad muscles stabilizing you. You can feel the feet still nice and active on the floor, helping to support you and ground you. Good. One more full breath. And whenever you're ready, exhaling to gently lower your hands, lower your feet, and shake it all out. And coming back to your Tadasana, so feet under your hips, toes spread wide, maybe even taking a moment to close your eyes and feel the length from our heels all the way to the top of our heads. And whenever you're ready, inhale, scooping the air up overhead, reaching fingertips to the sky, exhaling, hips back, hinging forward, all the way down, and then inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, hands under your shoulders, stepping back into your downward facing dog. Good, so holding here for a breath. And when you're ready, exhaling forward to plank, and then coming into our side plank. So shifting your weight onto your right hands, keeping the right shoulder over your wrist, and reaching fingertips to the sky. There's always the option here to lower the bottom knee, or if there's any discomfort in the wrist, you can always come to the elbow first. But whatever variation you choose, making sure you've kept that length in the spine, that you can still breathe through the ribs, again stopping at any point you might need to. One more inhale to reach up, and exhale, floating the hand back down. And then switching over to the other side. So again, placing the shoulder right over the wrist, rotating and opening up. Almost imagine trying to draw that shoulder back and down as you keep pressing the floor away. Again, always the option to come to the knee or the elbow, expanding through your lower ribs as you inhale. Good, one more inhale and exhale, float your hand back down. Come to your hands and knees. Tuck your toes, and coming up into your downward dog, we'll shift into pigeon pose. So inhaling your right heel back behind you. Exhale, right knee underneath your right shoulder, straighten your left leg. And then you can either stay there or gently lower yourself onto your elbows. And if it's available, stacking your forearms and allowing the weight of your head to relax into your forearms. You can always stack your wrists or fists if you need a little more height, or even use a pillow underneath your forehead, or even a pillow underneath your right hip to support your hips if you feel like you need a little bit more height. And then once you're in position, just see if you can come back to your breath. Come back to noticing the body resting on the floor. And as always, as we transition into our cool down, can you breathe in a little bit more air with your inhale? So once you've inhaled at the top of your breath, can you sip in a little bit more air? And as you exhale, can you start to slow your exhale down? Good, so we'll stay here for a couple more breaths. And whenever that feels complete for you, you can gently press yourself back up onto your hands, tucking your back toes and coming into your downward dog. Take a couple breaths here to just lengthen out those hips, stretch it out, so good. And then whenever you're ready, you can switch over to the other side, inhaling your left heel up and exhaling into your pigeon pose, straightening that back leg, lengthening your chest forward, and then finding whatever position you find the most comfortable.
And this can be a fairly intense pose, so if there's any discomfort at any point, you can always choose a figure 4 pose on your back as an option. And just take a notice, is your head and shoulders completely relaxed? Are you allowing the weight of your head to feel supported? Are your jaw muscles relaxed, allowing a space between your teeth? And then can you focus on a few lengthened inhales and exhales? So good. So whenever that feels complete, you can gently press yourself up, lengthening both legs out in front of you, keeping your right leg nice and straight and active, and then step your left foot over top of your right. Inhaling to lengthen through your spine, and exhale to twist towards your left. Keeping, again, that length in your spine as you twist. And coming back to, again, noticing that sensation of your ribs, your lower ribs and your belly and low back. And as you inhale, can you feel those areas expanding? And as you exhale, maybe you can gently sink a little further into your twist without forcing. Still keeping the shoulders down. So good. And then gently exhale to unwind back to center, lengthening your left leg out, stepping your right foot over, first to find the length, and then to exhale to twist the other way. If you find that you're ever rounding through your back in this twist, you can always put a pillow under your hips to give yourself a little bit more height. And again, notice, does this side feel any different than the other? Does it feel like you're twisting a little more, a little less? Are you still able to expand all the way around with each breath? One more full cycle of breath here. And then exhale and unwind the spine, both legs back and front. And then just come into a seated forward fold, so both legs straight. You can either, a couple options, you can either just sit tall and maybe you feel enough of a stretch there with both legs out in front, or maybe you can just start to hinge forward. Or maybe it feels good to gently round and reach for your feet. Again, whatever variation you choose, if you're reaching for your feet and rounding through your spine, you get more into the muscles of the back, but only if that's comfortable in your back. If you find there's any discomfort, just sitting tall and hinging from our hips will still give you a nice hamstring stretch. Still focusing on the breath. Especially in this position, you can focus on breathing through your back body, so inhaling to feel your lower back expand. Good, one more full cycle of breath. And then gently roll all the way back up and back down onto your back. Hug your knees into your chest, giving yourself a big hug. And then your choice, we'll finish off with happy baby, but if there's another position you prefer, feel free to take that. There's something we didn't get to today, so happy baby, feet together, knees apart, reaching for the outer edges of your feet and then drawing heels to the sky.
knees towards your armpits. And maybe even closing your eyes here and just making sure the weight of your head is just supported in the ground. Although we're hanging onto our legs, we're still relaxed through the arms and the shoulders. And return back to that breath, inhaling to see if you can sip in a little bit more air with your inhale. And then with your exhale, slowing it down. Even if you're exhaling through your nose, there can be a slight narrowing of the throat, which slows your exhale down. Only if that feels comfortable for you, though. Feel free to choose whatever variation of breath you prefer. But again, inhaling to feel that sipping in of a little bit more air at the top of the inhale. And slowed exhale. Good. A couple more full cycles of breath here. And then whenever that feels complete for you, you can gently lower your legs to the ground, maybe doing a couple knees from side to side, or any movement you feel like your body needs before going into Shavasana. Maybe you want another layer of clothing or a blanket, whatever you feel like you need to make yourself nice and comfortable. And then at your own pace, finding your way into Shavasana, legs out in front of you, palms facing the sky, or whatever position you find is more comfortable for you. And then start by keeping your eyes closed, scanning your body from your feet all the way up to the top of your head. And as you scan, see if you can just allow your body to feel any bit more relaxed. So notice if you're holding tension anywhere, is there any way you can just melt that tension, bringing your breath to that area. And then whenever that feels complete for you, letting go of the practice, letting go of trying to control your breath, and just taking the next couple minutes to enjoy that sense of relaxation and just noticing the breath. One more time, notice if the mind has started to wander, gently bring that awareness back to your breath. And then start to notice the body on the floor. Gently taking your time. If you choose, you can always stay where you're at and just enjoy a little bit of a longer Shavasana. If you're ready to start to move, you can start to do whatever movements you feel like your body needs at this moment. Keeping your eyes closed as you gently make your way to seated position, or again, just staying where you're at
For a little bit of a longer Shavasana, I'm happy for you to just stay where you're at. And then as always, taking your time to just notice your breath, noticing if you're feeling a little bit more relaxed or a little bit more centered, whatever is happening for you. And then taking time, as always, to just give yourself some self-compassion for taking the time to practice this evening. And then whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. Namaste. Thank you so much for practicing tonight.